Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar around talent management for 21A. We'll be starting this webinar very shortly. We're just waiting for a few more attendees to join. Thank you. So hello everyone and a warm welcome to our first advisory series of 2021. These sessions focus on delivering and updating you on the new features and functionalities that are made available as part of Oracle's quarterly release cycle. In this series so far, we've already covered finance and global HR. My name is Chris Gomez and I'm an account director here at Evasys, and today I'm your host for this session, where I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Suchayan Gadi, who is an HCM consultant here at Evasys and will be taking us through the talent management updates in 21A. Suchayan has been with Evasys for several years now with lots of experience around the HR modules and particularly around talent management. And supporting us today is Saurav Bucket, who is on hand to answer questions throughout the webinar. And Saurav is also an HCM consultant and he's aligned to the UK. Suchayan will talk us through the hot topics and everything you need to know about the main features of this release. And whilst we have allowed for this session to be 90 minutes today, we don't necessarily envisage the session being as long, given the number of features that we're going to be discussing today. However, as always, we will make an extended PowerPoint available to you at the end of the session that covers off all of the features and allows you to consume those the points at your own leisure. So by means of an agenda, we'd like to cover four main areas with you today. Firstly, I will talk a little bit about our approach to the Oracle updates before handing over to Suchayan, who will take us through the analysis of the latest release, providing us with an insight into the new available features, as well as highlighting things to consider when deploying them. This will also cover known issues that need to be considered. So Suchayan is looking to take you through this in around 45 to 50 minutes. After this session, I would like to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the role even innovative technologies plays in supporting your Oracle investment. And today's focus will be on robotic process automation and how it can support regression testing as well as automating business processes. We will leave some time at the end to cover questions, but please do ask any questions throughout the webinar in the chat option that you have. Saurav will manage answering these for you, but some of the questions may be left until the Q&A section. So if you find that your question hasn't been answered, don't worry. It's likely that it'll be answered at the end in the Q&A session. Okay, so let's now look at the approach to the Oracle update. What is our approach? This slide may be familiar to many of you that have joined us in previous sessions, but I do want to run through this still to serve as a reminder for you, as well as to benefit many of the new attendees joining us today. When we talk about an update, there are generally four categories of events that we must consider prior to deployment. Firstly, we need to analyze and consider each of the options that are available to be rolled out and the impact that it will have on user experience and productivity, and also to answer the question of do we need it. Secondly, we need to plan how we deploy the updates by carrying out some sort of impact analysis. And then we need to test to ensure there are no issues as part of rolling these out. During my session later, I hope to provide some insight into how we can help with this phase. I'm sure you'll all agree that it's probably the most intensive of the three phases that I've spoken about so far. And those three stages I've covered put us in a position where we're ready to launch that new version of the new features. So in today's session, we're looking at the analysis piece and looking at how we can actually help you with step 3, which is the testing piece. The way we present the information regarding each feature is summarized in this following slide. And as with the previous slide, it's going to be familiar to a number of you that have joined us in previous sessions. But let's use this to serve as a reminder, as well as to inform those new attendees that are joining us for the first time today. Each slide includes the name of the feature as well as a short description of the release to better inform you and give you a brief on what the feature is for. We include a business benefit section there to help you to understand how advantageous it may be to your organization with the outcomes it could give you. We also include on the right-hand side there an impact analysis with 4 main areas. So firstly, you've got your impact level. So a low would mean it's not going to have a large scale impact. So regression testing may not even be required or may be minimal. And obviously a high would be the exact opposite. Does the feature need to be enabled or will it just appear post upgrade? We actually tell you as we go through each of those features. How about configuration? Well, again, we highlight that too as part of our feature summary. Clearly, an update that needs configuration will also need more planning time. We also use this information to gauge whether it's a quick win or not. And obviously that is looking at the level of effort and the time required to get the feature set up. And we give you a bit of a view as to whether we think it's a quick win. So coming to the end of the first area, which was our approach to the Oracle update. So Cheyenne, I'm sure everyone's keen to understand what to expect from talent management. So can you just give us a view as to what to expect in 21A?
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Myself, Suchan. Today, I will take you through the new and magnificent features of talent management, which has been from Oracle with 21A upgrade. So to start with, I'll just give you a glimpse of the features that has been introduced with 21A. So altogether, we have 29 new features in modules like goal, performance, talent, career development, and learning. Out of these 29 features, we have segregated them into 2 parts. One is default and another is opt-in. So as the word suggests, default, it is available by default out of box to all the customers in 21A, and we do not need to do much configuration changes. Now the next one is the opt-in, which is also available out of the box, but we have to do certain level of configurations to enable them. To segregate further, we have divided this into 2 sections. One is quick win, another is the de-risk. So as the word suggests, quick win, this is the improvement that is visible and has immediate benefit, which can be delivered very quickly. So we'll move forward to the features directly. So I'll start with quick wins, which is by default available and doesn't need any configuration. So the very first feature that we have in 21A, which doesn't need any configuration, is from performance management module, which is adding a participant in performance document for feedback has been enhanced. So what the feature gives us is managers and HR specialists can now select participants to provide feedback based on the suggestion list. So we will get a list of attributes in 21A if we are enabling it, which says and which gives us an option to directly select workers peer, that is who are working parallelly with that employee, the matrix manager, like the indirect managers if we need a feedback from them. In case the worker is having direct reportees and we need feedback from their direct reportees in the performance document, we can get them. And if there are any other suggestions we need from any other employee or worker in the organization, even we can get it. So basically, if you compare 20D, in that section, we had this request feedback, but there we didn't have this attributes for simplicity. We had to search for a particular person and then add him or her in the performance document and request for feedback. But from 21A, this gives us more simpler way and a better end user experience to get it directly, that who are the peers, who are the matrix managers or direct reporters. So going forward, the next feature is also from performance document, which allows reopening of a participant feedback once that has been submitted. So this feature will facilitate participants who want to provide additional feedback for any employee in the performance document by giving them the option of reopening it by their own. So earlier this feature was available to HR specialist, but from this release onwards, managers, workers, and even the participant can provide the feedback or open or additional feedback by reopening the feedback they have provided. So in a nutshell, this gives an encyclopedic view of 360 evaluation as compared to the traditional one, which means for any circumstances, a participant has given a feedback, but later on he wants to modify that feedback or provide some additional feedback, which will give a better clarity on that employee's performance when the manager does the manager evaluation. That feature is available directly to the participant, and they do not need to request or raise internal tickets for the HR specialist to reopen it on behalf of them. So this simplifies the business processes going forward. So the next one is from performance document as well. Control who provides rating and comments in the document. So HR specialist can now configure all the sections like performance, goal, development goals, the summaries, the feedbacks sections just by expanding and the role section in the template and giving them appropriate access, whether they should be allowed to give ratings or they should be allowed to give comments. And there has been a new option enabled in the performance template which says not allowed. So if any role, for any role we are selecting not allowed, which means that particular role will not be allowed to give any comments or any ratings for any of the sections that we are saying. For example, performance goal, we are saying that the participants should not be allowed to see what all rating. So in that case, they will not be able to rate, comment, even they can see what all goals are there. So next is the manage check-ins by HR specialist. This is from the check-in document which falls under performance management. So this feature now allows the HR specialist to edit the check-in basic details as well as delete the document in case there is a requirement. So in a nutshell, HR specialist doesn't need to reach out to managers to change the basic details in case the manager or the worker is requesting with a proper justification. So they can directly go ahead to any check-in document based on the data role they are having in the organization, and they can change the basic details like the review period, the check-in document name, the dates, even the manager in case that is required, and the discussion topics that we put in the check-ins that can also be modified with help of an HR specialist role. So the next one is from 21A onwards, we are getting this option to modify the participant feedback task name for managers and workers explicitly. So if you can see this section in the process flow, this section was not available to 20D, and we can only modify the task name for manager and worker for self-evaluation, manager evaluation, share performance document, the review meetings. But this was by default request feedback. So many customers has requested that we need to modify this particular task name based on our business need. So there was a possibility to do it through page customization, which was very complex. And in various pages, we had to do it. And that required a lot of maintenance going forward with each performance document or upgrades. Now, if we are doing it at the template level, this gives us more flexibility that even if we are using the same template or process flow down the line, this task names remains intact. So this feature is going to help most of the customers who are using participant feedback and they have customized task name for individual roles. Next one is the performance document approval enhancement. So as we all are aware that from 20C or 20D onwards, we have got the assignment level security in place, which means that based on the data policy or the data security roles and manager or an HR is holding, they can only view the assignment details under that purview. Now, there was questions arising wherein if an employee is having multiple assignment and both the assignment is not having a performance document, then in case of an approval, it always routed through the current assignment of that particular employee. So even if it is a non-primary assignment, then also it used to route it through the current assignment. Now we have the option wherein we can make it route through non-primary as well as the primary assignment. In that case, what helps is whoever is the manager for that particular assignment gets the proper approval request and they can access the employee's performance document in case they are falling under that assignment security profile. So this gives a better data security access with ease of work for the managers who are having direct reportees in different assignment. So these were the quick ones which didn't need any configuration from our end. And these are by default available, which we can get it once we are getting upgraded to 21A. And with our business need, if we are using feedback sections and all, we can use those features that we have just now discussed. Now going to the opt-in functionality, which is also available by default, but we need to do certain level of configurations to enable them. So the first one is suspended assignment support in talent review. So from 21A, we can now include people with suspended primary assignments in a talent review with roles like facilitator, the business leader, or even he can be a participant, or he can also be the population. So consider a case where a manager has to travel globally to a different location for a temporary tenure of say suppose 1 or 2 months. So what will happen to the old assignment? It will be in the suspended status. And for the new assignment that he is taking up globally and going to a different location, that becomes the primary active assignment. Now, in that period, if there happens a talent review meeting and they need their direct reportees to be part of that talent review meeting, and accordingly, the potential assessment and the other data needs to be created. So, in that case, they can pull that manager from that suspended primary assignment as a review participant. And whoever is falling under that population reporting to him in that assignment, he will get access to create their data. As along with that, he can move those employees from holding areas and do all the level of participant access he can do in a particular talent review meeting. So this feature will cater most of the business requirements wherein we have multiple assignments or even we have frequent global transfer cases. Next feature is the incumbents we can see for a particular job or a position succession plan. So this feature is basically if you are creating a succession plan for a specific job or position and you are adding successors to that, we don't get an idea who all are already holding that position. If you see the releases or the succession planning pages now, till date, we can only add the participants, but we don't get an option to see who are already holding that job or that particular position. From this release onwards, we get that option to get the list of all the incumbents that are already having that job or the position. So this gives a clear overview of who all are the successors who are already having that position or that job based on which the succession plan has been designed. And it gives a clear picture organization wide in in respect to figure out a particular successor for that specific job or position. And this particular incumbent is visible in multiple pages, such as the overview page if you go when you are creating the succession plan. Even the person spotlight who is a part of that succession plan, you can go ahead and see the incumbents, and even in the incumbent sections of a particular plan. So this gives us a overview of the entire plan. Moving next is the feature wherein we get the HDL and HCM extract support for succession alert attributes. So if you recall, in 20D, there were alert attributes brought in for succession planning, wherein if a candidate is moving from a different role, then the alerts will be triggered. And even if the incumbent is changing any role, then also an alert will be triggered in the system. So these were a part of 20D, but those were not supported through HDL, or even we could not extract them as a part of HCM extract data extraction. Now, from this release onwards, once we are creating a succession plan using HDL, we have this option to go ahead and also load the alerts using data loader or the spreadsheet, wherein we give the alerts as per our requirement, whichever we are putting it in the succession plans. Even once we are getting this data in the succession plan and we want to extract it for our own purpose, we can use the HCM extract option to get all the data and retrieve it. Next is the Design Studio support for adding flex fields to succession plans and talent pool. So when we are creating any descriptive flex field, apart from the delivered fields for any succession plan talent pool, then those fields we used to hide it or unhide it or make it required using Page Composer, because those were not supported in Transaction Design Studio. But from this release onwards, it has been supported and they have brought in this feature in the Transaction Design Studio, wherein you can go and you can hide, unhide, or even make them required using them. So it's clear if you see from this particular screenshot that once you are creating a talent pool and you are getting into the details, these particular fields that we are being highlighted here are the flex fields, and this has been done through Design Studio. And once we are putting values to these descriptive flex fields, these are available inside the talent pool, as well as you get into the summary page, you will get the details as shown in this particular picture. So in short, it helps the implementers to do the work easily, and even for maintenance purpose it's very easy because we don't need to enable sandbox, go into the composer pages and get into the individual descriptive flex fields through the source code and enable it. We can easily do it through the Design Studio whenever it is required. If in case going forward those fields are no more required, or we don't need to make them required, so we can do it easily from the Design Studio. Next one is the suspended assignment support in succession management. So this falls under the succession module, the talent part. So as we have discussed for the talent review meeting, wherein we are supporting the suspended assignment for different employees. Similar to that, under succession management also, if you are creating a succession plan, we can include a suspended assignment employee as an incumbent, owner, or even the candidate of that particular plan. So earlier, if you recall, only the primary assignment actives were a part of this succession management. And when we are creating them, if by any means they are moving out of the succession, means moving out of the primary assignment, it used to give us a warning. Now we can explicitly add the suspended primary assignment in case there is requirement, as we have mentioned, in case any organization is using global transfer cases. So in those cases, it will help those organization in case the suspended assignment needs to be evaluated or a succession plan needs to be created for that particular employee for a specific period. Similar to this, we have suspended assignment support in talent pool as well, wherein in the similar way, we can add a owner, we can add members to a talent pool who are having suspended assignments. So if you see the screen, this particular owner is having a suspended assignment, but we can add them in the owner list. So organizations using multiple assignment uh, will be gaining a lot if in case they have this kind of requirement wherein they need to put in the suspended assignments for different pools and assign development goals going forward. So this is going to be a real help to those organizations. Now this feature falls under Oracle Learning Cloud. This feature basically is giving us an opportunity to create approvals. Incident management approvals, we can now have approval workflow, which we can design through transaction console. So based on any sort of requirement, wherein the incident, whatever is getting created from learning module, needs to go for an approval, we can do it through BPM transaction console. And along with that, we are also getting incident management notifications now in BIP template format. So what that means is, in case we need to customize the logo in the notification, we need to customize any field, we need to modify the structure, then we can customize it from report analytics, that is the BIP server. We can extract that RTF that is delivered, we can modify whatever is required, we can re-upload it, and that will give us a more clarity to the end users as compared to the classic view. So if you can see this screen here, this particular feature has now been brought in 21, where in the learning incidents we can configure the approvals, and this is one of the BIP notification that is there, and whatever is required at places we can modify. If required, we can remove the fields whatever is not required. Moving next is from goal management module. So for a performance goal, we generally have requirements from different customers that we need to give feedback for that specific goal. We have sections for giving comments. We have those goals falling under performance document to provide rating, but we do not have a section to provide the feedback for that particular goal. So from this release onwards, we are getting an option to get feedback for the performance goals, and the employees can request their peers, their matrix managers, to give feedback to those goals. And once you request a feedback, the particular peer or the matrix manager, whomever you're requesting, will receive a notification and they will provide a feedback, and in turn the employees will receive a submission or confirmation notification that the feedback has been submitted. So in turn, this is going to give a clarity that apart from your goal completion or the weightage that you're having, what is the feedback in case you are sharing that goal with different peers or your matrix manager is helping you in achieving that goal. So those feedbacks will in turn help when you are doing the performance appraisal process. So the business enhancement is like you get the granular level feedback from everybody across when you have started this goal and when you were really working and completing this goal. Whoever was associated, you are getting a feedback from them. Next feature is from performance management module, wherein automate transferring performance document when a manager change happens for an employee. So this was one of the most demanding feature which has been brought in now. So there are organizations wherein the managers are frequently changed due to certain reasons, or the employees are moving from one assignment to different assignment, or the employees have to move to a different location for certain reason and they are reporting to a different manager. So we have seen earlier that once the performance document is created and a manager is being assigned to that performance document as a performance document manager, even if the employee moves to a different manager and the new manager needs to provide a rating, then HR specialist or the admins need to intervene and they have to manually transfer those documents. But from this release onwards, this feature has been brought in wherein we have to just enable a profile option and schedule a process which will automatically transfer the documents from one employee's old manager to the new manager. So in case, I'll give you a scenario wherein in a day, suppose an employee was reporting to manager A, and in afternoon there was a manager change to manager B, and for any reason, for any hypothetical circumstances, in during the end of the day, there was another manager change, manager C for that employee. So that doesn't mean that all the managers will get the performance document. Once we are running the process, so if it runs in the afternoon, that particular process, at that time, whoever is the manager, so at afternoon, the manager was manager B. So the manager change happens from manager A to manager B. Now, if the process is running at the end of the day, so the new manager is manager C. So the performance document manager change happens from manager A to directly manager C, rather going via B. So this is one consideration we have to keep in mind. Another consideration is if the document, performance document, is cancelled or completed, then even if the manager change happens, and we run the process, we have the profile value option enabled, the document will not get transferred automatically. So the prerequisite for this process to trigger and the manager change to happen automatically in the performance document is the performance document should be in progress or not started status. So this will reduce a lot of manual works the HR specialists are currently doing, and most of the organizations wherein these scenarios are occurring in during that review period. So this will help them reducing their work and manual work. And going forward, even this manager change will not impact any performance appraisal process. Next is job alerts for career of interest. So this is falling in the career development module. So we now have subscribe to job alert option. So in this option, we get to subscribe to a particular job role that we are aspiring from the career outlook page or from the actions menu of the role in the career of interest section. So how will this help the organization? This will help the organization to access the job opportunities related to a particular aspiration and also fill the position with internal candidates because they have subscribed for that job alert, and that will help the organization to retain the talents. Now, in case an internal candidate has already moved to a specific job aspired position and he has also subscribed for different job roles parallelly, now he can go ahead and unsubscribe for those job alerts if required. So this particular option of subscribing and unsubscribing is available through a particular profile option. You can go ahead and enable it, and then accordingly you'll get this option to make it available for the end users. Sorry. Now the next feature is also associated with the career development, wherein it says that alert for changes in the job model profile associated with career of interest, which means I have opted for a particular job role and I aspire to get into that particular position. So that particular position or that role profile is already having a set of competencies or a set of degrees or a certain attributes which I need to complete in order to get into that role. At times what happens is, in case there is some changes in the organization or some discussion happens and they modify the attribute list. For example, the competencies were like A, B, and C, which has the minimum requirement of 2, 3, and 2. Now, based on that discussion, they have made the minimum qualifications changing, like they made it to 3, 4, and 3. Now, whoever was aspiring for that particular job role has added it in his career of interest, and he accordingly is adding the development goals or he is aspiring for those learning courses to achieve it. All of a sudden, if it changes and he is not notified, he won't be able to change himself or he won't be able to modify his goals accordingly to meet the requirement. So in this one, when you are opting for this profile option, this will give or help the end users to proactively manage their career development goals and the learnings based on the changes. So once any change happens to any role profile, automatically the end users who have already subscribed or who have put those roles under their career of interest will be notified that these all changes have been made. So if you can see the screen, so this kind of notifications will be triggered to them, which says that this degree has been deleted or this role details has been updated. So accordingly, they will be changing their development goals or the courses to meet the requirement. So in short, this gives a holistic view to the end users that anything changes and accordingly what changes they need to do from their end to meet the career interest requirement. Next is the matrix management support in talent review. This falls under talent review module, and we can now include matrix managers as reviewers in a talent review meeting. So which means matrix manager, when preparing a review content, can rate their dotted line reportees who are a part of that review population in that meeting. So this gives a better clarity to the matrix managers when they are part of that participant population. They see and they also get to prepare the content for anybody who is not directly reporting but indirectly reporting. They can prepare, they can do their potential assessment, they can change the potential data, they can also perform various actions like moving them to and fro from a particular holding area, add them to succession plan. Whatever activities we do during the talent review meeting dashboard presentation, everything can be done by that matrix manager in case he is one of the participant and the dotted reportees are part of that population. Now, one note is like there can be a scenario wherein a person is both a direct report and also a dotted line report. So in those cases, only the dotted line report, only the direct report will be shown, and the dotted line report will not be shown in the uh, review content preparation data. So these were from the opt-in portions, wherein we have to do certain level of configurations pertaining to setup and maintenance, or we have to enable some profile options to get these features which are available out of the box. So Chris, do we have any questions unanswered which we can take up?
Thank you very much, Sachayan. I will look at Surav now, just to see if there are any specific questions, Surav, that you feel at this stage we should discuss at this juncture.
Yeah, we have one question, Krish. Can we just move that into the slide of Q&A, because this is related to learning, and I want the speaker to be unmuted at that point of time because the question need a more clarification.
Certainly. Okay.
Yeah.
So over to you again, Sachayan.
Can I get that question, please? Saurabh, are you?
Yes, Suchan, I am reading out the question. Is there a way to find out who reports content in the learning module? Our learners will often report an issue, mostly issue caused by the user errors, which are easily addressed, but we cannot respond to them because there's no detail on who submitted them. Is there a way we can pull out this information? Report are not responded to as a result.
We can definitely check it in our report analytics, because from the core tables we'll definitely see whom they've submitted, and we can pull out a report, create a report, and get those details in case that is required.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much,
Suchan.
Sachayan.
Thank you, Suchan.
Surav, are there any other questions that have come through that we should use this juncture
No,
now
there
to
is no more questions.
Chris, will that be possible to bring out that poll? So basically, with earlier releases, we have seen that assignment level security has been introduced, wherein based on the data policy or the data roles we are holding, they can only see those set of assignments under my team, and also for the goals and performance. So how do you find that feature useful, not only from talent point, also if we consider the core HR and other sections?
Certainly. So I've just opened the poll for our attendees. So the question is, did you find the assignment level security feature that was enabled in 20D for my team useful? If I could ask all of our attendees to vote. Okay, so poll is closed. And if I share the results with you, you can see that 63% of you said found it actually useful, but surprisingly, 37% of you said it wasn't useful.
Yeah, so whichever organization is using the multiple assignment feature, and this particular functionality is really helping them out, that we can see from this poll, correct? Because most of the organizations are using it, and few organizations doesn't have that requirement to use multiple assignments. So for them, it's not of much use. So might be that is the reason we are getting that no as 37.
Okay. Thanks for that insight, Suchayan. So should we move on to the next piece of your analysis?
Yeah, sure. Krish, can you just move to that slide?
So are we now covering the new features, the rest?
Yes, the rest. Correct.
Over to you again.
Thank you. So we'll come down to the last portion, which is the REST features. So basically, these are warnings or features that are already available, but we are not using it due to some technical challenges or some other requirements to fulfill. Or there might be any some features which are not that useful, but we can use based on our specific business cases. So we'll see the features one by one. The first feature is falling under Oracle Learning Cloud, which says removing of old browse catalog experience. This is basically a warning to all the existing customers who are still using the old browse catalog option on the self-service tab. So in case you have not enabled responsive UI till now, then with 21B, this will be deprecated and new browse catalog option will automatically be set as default. So in case you are still using, please plan accordingly right away, because after this release of 21A, Oracle is going to default the new browse catalog option. So new browse catalog by option is having many benefits because you can search the learning items by featured learnings, the highest rated learning, the community categories, everything you can do it when you are using that new browse catalog. But in that old browse catalog, those options will not be available. So with this new browse catalog, we have other functionalities like quickly figuring out which learning item to go through for our end users, or whenever we are aspiring for a different career opportunity. So based on the featured ones or based on the rating ones, which ones should we opt for? So this all helps the end users to get a better clarity and also gives us a enriched and simplified UI. So this requires a certain level of configurations to upgrade to responsive UI in case you are planning to do it in this release. And I would suggest, if somebody is not upgraded to responsive UI, please do it, because you will get warning banner on your screen when you see it from 21A, because this is the last release you can use it. Going forward, you have to migrate to responsive for learning, and you have to use the upgraded versions of any browse catalog or other options that that are available in the responsive UI of a learning. So next one is same addition to Oracle Learning Cloud, wherein you have to upgrade to responsive UI by 21B. In case you haven't done it, please do it. This is basically a warning. You are going to get it once you upgrade to 21A. So as mentioned earlier, this responsive user experience is having lot many new functionalities which will simplify the end user's experience when they are figuring out for a particular learning course or when they're submitting it. So all these things are being now streamlined in this responsive UI. So similar to the previous one, we need a certain level of configurations and profile options to be enabled. Now the next one is the talent pool dedicated menu item. So if you recall, till date, if we are trying to create a talent pool from an HR specialist login, we have to navigate to quick actions, and then we have to go to talent pools to create that pool, talent pool. But there was no dedicated icon. But going forward from 21A onwards, they are bringing this talent pool action under my client group section. So if you now open my client group, you will see it, this option under succession plannings, along with this talent pool, the development options, everything. But only thing is you have to enable it through the structure. So this is another enhancement request that was being raised when we have migrated to responsive, because in classic it was available, but in responsive it was not available, and many customers did find it difficult to navigate to quick actions, expand it, and figure out for the talent pool. So this is definitely going to help them in their requirement. Now the next one is configure comments and attachments for development plan approval transaction. So with this upgrade, using Design Studio, we can enable or disable the comments and attachment sections when you are submitting a development plan for approval. So if you remember, like when you are adding a development goal, or if you are submitting a performance goal, anything if you're submitting, then you land to a different screen wherein you get the comments and attachment section, wherein it is not mandatory, but you have to go through that screen and then again submit. So in case there is no approval related and they don't need the end users to provide comments and attachments for each and every time they are submitting it, and they want to remove it, this is now doable using Design Studio. So in short, if we are disabling it, by one click, you can directly submit the development plan for an approval. So it saves time and enriches the end user experience. Now in the goal plan screen from an ESS point, if you land to the goal screen, you have different options of shorting the goals. By default, it is the display sequence. But if you want to short it based on the goal weightages or the completion percentage, this has now been enabled. But you have to do these things via Transaction Design Studio. You have to enable those features so that you get that option of shorting any goals in the goal plan using this goal weights ascending or descending, or even the completion percentage ascending or descending. So in this feature, that will help us getting more clarity, like which goal needs to be prioritized first, and based on the weightage or even the completion percentage if we haven't completed. So this is again giving a better user experience to the end users. In case you are not having weightages to goals, because that is something that you do at the goal plan level configuration, so that point you won't be getting these two options even if you're enabling it, because you have not enabled the goal weightage. So but completion percentage is something that is available and you have to do it for any performance goal. So similar to the development plan that we have seen, wherein we can disable the comments and attachments when we are submitting an approval, like you want to skip a page wherein you just need to provide comments and attachments. So this is again same for performance. Only thing is it's in a different page, so it's a different enhancement that maintained. So this is for performance pages, wherein if you submit a goal, you can omit that disable comments and attachments, and by one click you can submit it for approval. So this is the contextual notes for performance goal, which you can enable using Design Studio. So as we have seen that this 21A has given us the option to provide feedback to performance goals. There is ratings that we can do for in the performance evaluation. But in case we want to provide special notes to some of these goals, then we don't have a placeholder. But using this contextual notes, we can enable it through Design Studio, put it for the performance goal pages, and then accordingly we can enable that section and provide notes in case it is useful for the managers to view and see that what all things they need for an improvement. That is also, you can provide it as a feedback. Also, you can just give it as a note wherein that can be taken forward when they are moving from different completion percentages. So this will benefit in case you are opting for note section instead of feedbacks. So it's based on the requirement, you can use it. So this is the profile section improvement to the evaluator type. So as we all know, with the V2 update, the competency section is having evaluator type by default, which was not a part of V1. And in evaluator type, we have to provide the corresponding details like self or supervisor or official, and accordingly we'll input the data. So if it is coming from any goals as a target outcome, so we get the evaluator type as goals. So now there was a requirement. So if in case an employee or a manager is not able to put a competency by because of some reason, and they are requesting the HR to do it. So when the HR tries to do it from their login, by default the evaluator type become official. But it was a request from manager or an employee. So ideally it should be either self or supervisor based on whatever the request was. Now from this release, this particular requirement has been catered. Now, once in the skills and qualification page, HR goes and they select the competency for a specific employee. In the evaluator type field, it doesn't default to official. So they can select whatever was the request and then accordingly provide that value and submit it. So this gives flexibility to the managers in case they are not having access to system and they need to update or provide few competencies for an employee. They can request their HR specialist to do it on their behalf with the evaluator type as supervisor, which they can come ahead and do from this page with this enhancement. So next is we have got REST services for worker talent ratings. So in the REST services workbook, if you see now from 21A, we'll get the APIs for all the worker talent ratings, which we can easily integrate with Oracle Cloud Talent Management. And if we are using custom chatbots or other provisions to pull in the profile ratings from Fusion system via any intuitive method, we can use those APIs easily and we can get the data directly from the Cloud Talent Management of Oracle, and we don't need to extract the data all time using HCM extracts or reports and put it in a different SFTP and get the data in a specific chatbot. So that was the legacy thing. Now with the use of API, it is more realistic, and every time there is an update, automatically it gets integrated and you can pull out that data for worker talents ratings. Next is the deny rules, which is like in Oracle Learning, the view mode of no access is going to be decommissioned from 21B. So in case you have selected like no access option in the view mode drop down for global or local access groups, it will be removed going forward from 21B. So you will be seeing a warning in your screen once you upgrade that it should be revised before you upgrade to 21B. And in case going forward, you want to hide the learning items from a group of people in self-service portal, then you have to set the default view mode to have a deny rule. Like in view mode, you can give it as no access and accordingly create access groups with details or summary view mode for a particular group of people to access it. So in that way, whatever you had been doing for the local access or the global access group, going forward, you have to go ahead with the different approach to maintain that feature of disabling access and under ESS learning item search. So the next feature is also from performance evaluation, wherein the access has been provided to give additional information like the contextual notes for every section, starting from the participant feedback, the interim feedback, even the suggestions that are being provided to participants to give the goal sections. Everywhere you can give additional feedback in case it is required, apart from the normal comments and ratings. And we can set up these items in the transaction design studio for the additional reasons. And this will help us to deep dive into the various sections for a better and proper evaluation. So we have seen customers requesting that the item comments or ratings that we are giving is specific to that document evaluation. What if you want to give additional information for their feedbacks, like saying that they need to improve on this section and all? So rather giving in the comments, if you are enabling these sections for additional sections for individual structures, you can provide them during the performance evaluation. So this is something, if it is required, you can include it or configure it. So this is all from the talent management module. So we have covered almost all the quick wins and the features that are available from this 21A upgrade. So are we having any questions now on all whatever we have discussed?
Yes, Suchan, this is Saurav other side.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there is one question. Um there is one council where we set whole course to no access to hide them from the catalog. Does this affect those?
Was it via an access group or it is in the course level? If it is in the course level, I don't think it will be, because it's only on the access group levels. This particular functionality will be removed from 21B.
Thank you, Suchan.
Okay, so Surav, if there are no other questions, thank you very much for doing that, carrying out the review there, Suchan. There were some very interesting features that you discussed. So perhaps use this time now to just reflect on some of the things that you've heard so far from Suchan, and please do continue to ask questions. I'd like to keep Surav as busy as possible with answering those questions for you, but as I said, it's your webinar, so let's try and get as much out of it as we can today. So please do continue to ask the questions. So let's move on now to the next section, which is how we can leverage technology. So how is it that we can leverage technology? So technologies can help with not only facilitating the release cycle, but also can drive further success from your Oracle applications. And in this instance, we're looking at HR and talent. We've leveraged the latest technologies and created a series of packages across 3 distinct areas: RPA, or robotic process automation, analytics, and chatbots. With RPA, we look at how we can help our customers automate the regression testing that's been carried out or that needs to be carried out for each quarterly cycle to save time and provide focus on where it's required. We also look at how we can save time with automating business processes. From an analytics perspective, our value-based analytics can be overlaid on the existing analytics that you have in place, and it provides information and outcomes around 4 key areas. We look at identifying processes that can be optimized or even automated, and they would typically feed into our RPA. From a system adoption perspective, we can help identify areas and reasons for low adoption rates, and in turn provide recommendations on changes to improve these. We also look at the data outputs that you and your teams need from the system to provide greater visibility. And finally, we cover audit and compliance that look at regulations and segregation of duties, as well as ensuring compliance with internal SLAs that you may have in place. The other point to raise here is that data and analytics shared across the business can lead to much better outcomes. I'm sure you know that. But data is often siloed into each business unit or department in an organization. And obviously there is some data that we need to keep within departments, and HR is a case in point. But have a think about whether having a more holistic view of data from across the organization would help you or would help your colleagues. Perhaps those non-Oracle solutions that you may have running within your business. We can talk to you about how Oracle Analytics Cloud and the wider range of technical solutions can help bring that data together. But not only that, but we can also, as Evasys, look at helping you getting the data into Oracle Analytics, as well as helping you get the most out of the data as well. Finally, chatbots, or digital assistants, as you may know them as. Many of us are used to dealing with these solutions in our personal lives, particularly when you're looking for help from online retailers or utility providers or any organization between those two. They can be frustrating, but it's fair to say that they've come a long way. And in the last few years, we've seen them providing a lot more positive outcomes without the need of waiting endlessly on a phone for a customer service agent to pick up. But we're also seeing more and more how businesses are using them internally as well. And you may already have some deployed in HR, and certainly in our experience, we definitely see that the most chatbots and digital assistants are being rolled out in the HR world. But they can be, chatbots and digital assistants are definitely drivers to improve system adoption and improve user experience. They can also help with reducing departmental overheads around answering customer or internal queries. And yes, whilst HCM seems to be a popular area to deploy them for internal processes, they can be used in almost any department and are often seen as an inexpensive quick win with a great return on investment. So for today, I'm going to talk a bit further about RPA, and we will look at analytics and chatbots in the up and coming advisory sessions later in the year for 21B and 21C. But whilst I'm going to be talking about RPA in a bit more detail today, what I wanted to do is actually ask you, the attendees, what you'd like to see in next in our future sessions. So for 21B, would you prefer us to have a session on analytics first or chatbot? So I'm just going to launch a quick poll now. And if you could just use your voting button to give us a bit of a view as to what would be most interesting for us to cover next in our next series of webinars. Okay, so we are starting to see a bit of a common theme here across all of the webinars we've run so far, so this being the third. And it does feel like analytics is the hot topic that everyone wants to be talking about. So I'll be feeding this back to our team, and we'll look to put together an analytics session for each of these advisory sessions. But in the meantime, if there are some burning requirements around analytics that you'd like to talk to us about, we will be sharing information at the end of this webinar that you can actually contact us, or if you already have a project manager and you're an Evasys customer, you can use them to reach out to us so that we can have those discussions. And likewise, those of you that answered that you'd like to see chatbots, again, use the same methods of contacting us to have those discussions. If there are some real needs, or if you want to learn more about how chatbots can help you, then please do reach out. But otherwise, we will look to be doing those sessions in 21B and 21C. Okay, so from an RPA perspective, RPA can be broken down into two main areas that could benefit you, and that's regression testing as well as automating other business and transactional processes. So firstly, from a regression testing perspective, many of you on this webinar will be focused around talent, and I've included a table of the number of standard processes that we have automated scripts for across the whole HCM piece. We are continuously growing this provision, So every time you join us, we'll look to actually tell you how many additional processes that we are covering. But the idea here being is that we want to take the pain away from actually having to follow those regression testings manually, and we want those to be automated as much as possible. It is important to know that clearly, if you do have non-standard processes, we would need to adapt these standard processes or develop specific automating testing scripts for your specific environment. But by running with the processes that we've got automated so far, these alone, the Centre of Excellence team have reported back a 20% saving on testing time as a result of using RPA between 20C and 20D. Now, that is an extremely conservative figure from my colleagues in the COE team, but it does form a base minimum of what you can achieve. We do have customers that have saved nearer 70% of testing time, but it's important that we're realistic and we're clear with all of you. Time saving will be exponential as you invest more time and energy into working with us to tailor the testing processes up front. Nonetheless, where we did the work, this 20% was passed back to customers, and we were able to focus on failed processes by reviewing and resolving any config issues that came out of those regression tests, and if necessary, alerting Oracle to any software-related issues that needed to be fixed. And the great thing about this is that it's not just about the time it saves us and our customers, it's also about the speed or the elapsed time in which the tests are done. So it gives us more time in that testing phase to make sure that we're ready for the new release. And then from a business process automation perspective, this is where I believe larger savings can be realized. We spoke earlier about our VBA solution and how it can be used to identify those business processes that are ideal candidates for automation. Once those processes have been identified, we recommend investing some time up front to standardize or even redesign the process before you automate. Forrester wrote an interesting paper back in 2020 talking about the importance of RPA and the importance in the modern world. And interestingly, how much of a role it's going to play in a post-pandemic world. They also included some golden rules for robotic process automation, and they said that it's vitally important to carry out standardization or process rewrites, even if it increases the initial costs. And this is because ultimately it will lead to a more sustainable environment automation with improved returns. And they also went on to say how important it is to have a well-documented process map as well. That's because automation is normally a fragment of a wider process. So you need to ensure that automation factors in dependencies if it is associated with that wider process and there are dependencies in that wider process. The other interesting point that the report made is that humans still find more improved ways of getting a job done by using different tools or maybe even identifying shortcuts. That's why it's better to look at simplifying and standardizing processes first, if they can be. And then there are some benefits, of course, to automating processes. Once you've automated a process, it's available 24/7. So if there's large amounts of data that need to be inputted, for example, that can be done on a 24/7 basis. Because of this, it makes RPA an efficient tool for getting work done. Linked to that is the benefit of speed. Not only can processes be carried out about 4 to 5 times faster than if it's done by a human, process automation doesn't have the distractions that we all experience from being interrupted by a phone call, for example, or someone popping over to our desk to ask a question. Given the current restrictions that most of us are under at the moment, I personally would welcome to be in an office where colleagues are interrupting me, but nonetheless, that an automated process doesn't have those distractions. There's also assurances over the level of accuracy. Now, if the data that's going in is accurate, robots give a consistent delivery time and time again. And then the final point is an interesting one about focus. Many processes that are automated revolve around data entry. And if we take these processes away from employees, it allows them time to focus on the value-add activities, therefore increasing employee engagement as a result. So hopefully you found some of these points useful. And if it's something that you'd like to explore further, or if you would like to understand how we can help you with looking at these, please do contact us via your project manager or using the details that we share towards the end of this session. And let's see if we can work with you to identify how you can benefit from RPA. So as we start to draw this webinar to a close, I'm just going to bring in Surav to see if there are any questions during my short session. Were there any follow-up questions that we need to discuss now?
No, Chris, there is no questions.
Okay, so what I'll do is let me move to the closing slide, just to give you all an opportunity to, if there are any final questions prior to fully closing the webinar. But let me just go to the closing notes, and then please do answer any final questions that you've got, and we can get those answered before we close. Okay, so in terms of a closing note, so firstly, thank you all for joining today. We hope you found it useful. What happens next? Well, what we want to do is we want to make this presentation, the session recording, and the test scripts available to you. So anyone who's joined today will receive an email from us with those 3 things. In addition to that, we'll also include a feedback form or a link to a feedback form. These sessions are for you, so we value your feedback. If there's anything that you want to feedback to us, good or bad, please do let us know. We want you to get the most out of these sessions. If there's anything that we've discussed today that you'd like more information on, please speak to your project manager or email us at business@evasysglobal.com, and one of my colleagues will be able to redirect your query to the right person. And that will cover things around additional services, around the quarterly updates, or even to learn more about the innovation side that I talked to you about at the end. And on the right-hand side, you'll see that the advisory session isn't just about this webinar today. There's actually 7 in total, and we're now on to our 3rd, which is the one today at talent management. But we do have some further ones around workforce management, which is tomorrow. And then we have some follow-up ones on the 25th of January and the 27th, which covers supply chain, HR help desk and Oracle recruiting, as well as global payroll. So if you are interested in any of those, please don't forget to register for them. Or if you have colleagues that would be interested in those, please do ask them to visit our website and register for those. I'm just going to come back to the closing point around Q&A. Just a final check to see if there are any questions that we need to answer before I wish you all a good evening. So
No, Chris, there are no questions.
No further questions. Okay, so once again, thank you very much to everyone who's joined us today. For more information, please visit our website. Please email us at business@evasysglobal.com. And I hope to see you all soon. Take care.